Right now, while you are watching this video, somewhere in the world a company just replaced an entire team of workers with artificial intelligence. Not in the future. Not in 10 years. Right now, today, in real time. And the number that should scare you is not the millions of jobs already gone, it is the speed at which it is happening. Because what took decades during the Industrial Revolution is now taking months. And the predictions being made by the most powerful minds in tech for 2026 are not warnings anymore, they are announcements. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which jobs are on the front line of elimination, why the people inside these professions still do not believe it is coming for them, what the data says about where this is all heading, and most importantly, what you can do right now to make sure you are not caught off guard when the wave hits. Stay until the end, because the last part of this video might be the most important thing you hear all year. There is a quiet revolution happening inside offices, call centers, hospitals, law firms, and creative agencies around the world right now. Most people are not seeing it yet because the changes are subtle. A company does not announce to the world that it just replaced 40 people with software. It simply stops hiring. It simply does not renew contracts. It quietly restructures. And then one day, the people who worked in those roles look around and realize that the job market for what they do has completely collapsed. This is not a theory. This is already documented, it is already measurable, and it is already accelerating. To understand the scale of what is happening, it helps to look at what artificial intelligence can actually do in 2025 and what it is projected to do by the end of 2026. Because for most of the last decade, AI was impressive but limited. It could recognize faces in photos, it could recommend movies on a streaming platform, it could help a phone understand what someone was saying. Those were useful tools, but they were narrow. They did one thing. They were not thinking. But the generation of AI that exists right now is fundamentally different. It does not just recognize patterns, it reasons, it writes, it codes, it analyzes, it designs, it communicates, and it learns from everything it touches. And it does all of that at a speed and scale that no human team can match. Goldman Sachs released a report that estimated artificial intelligence could expose around 300 million full-time jobs globally to automation. That number did not come from a fringe blogger or a sensationalist headline. It came from one of the most respected financial institutions in the world. The International Monetary Fund published its own analysis saying that about 40% of jobs worldwide are at risk of disruption from AI, and when the World Economic Forum released its Future of Jobs report, it projected that by 2027, which is closer than most people realize, 85 million jobs could be displaced by machines and automation. Those are real numbers backed by real research. And the jobs being talked about are not just low-skill positions on factory floors. The professions being disrupted hardest are white-collar, educated, and often highly paid. Here is where it gets specific, and this is the part that most videos about AI never actually commit to. The jobs that are being eliminated first are the ones that involve processing information, communicating information, and making decisions based on structured rules and patterns. That definition covers a much wider range of professions than most people expect. Start with data entry and administrative processing. This category is already in freefall. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the number of data entry clerks in America has been declining for years, and that decline is now dramatically accelerating. Companies that used to employ dozens of people just to enter, categorize, and move information from one system to another now use AI tools that do the same work in seconds with fewer errors and at a fraction of the cost. A single AI system can process thousands of documents per hour, extract the relevant information, verify it against existing databases, and flag anomalies for human review. What used to take a team of people an entire week now takes minutes. This is not coming. It is already happening at scale. Customer service is the next major wave. There are approximately 17 million customer service representatives working in the United States alone, according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Globally, the number is far larger, and this profession is being hit from every direction simultaneously. AI-powered chatbots and voice agents have reached a level of sophistication where they can handle the vast majority of customer interactions without any human involvement. They can understand complex questions, access customer account data in real time, process refunds, resolve complaints, answer technical questions, and escalate only the most complex cases to a human. A major telecommunications company in Europe reported in 2024 that after deploying an AI customer service system, it was able to handle 64% of all inbound customer contacts without human assistance. That means more than half of the people who would have been hired to take those calls simply are not needed anymore. Now here's something that might surprise you, and this is one of those things worth paying close attention to. The professions most in danger are not the ones people traditionally worry about. Most people imagine AI replacing factory workers or truck drivers. And yes, those industries will be disrupted, but the data shows that the automation risk is actually highest in jobs that require reading, writing, sorting, and processing information, which describes a massive portion of what the modern professional economy is built on. Paralegals and legal research assistants are facing one of the fastest disruptions of any profession in the country. Law firms have been early adopters of AI research tools because the return on investment is immediate and enormous. A legal AI system can review thousands of case files, identify precedents, summarize documents, and produce research memos in the time it would take a paralegal to read through one case file. Thomson Reuters, one of the largest legal information companies in the world, reported that their AI legal research tools were already reducing the time it takes to complete legal research tasks by over 50%. That efficiency gain does not come for free. It comes at the expense of the human hours that used to be required to do that work. The medical coding and billing industry is another profession undergoing silent disruption. Every time a patient visits a doctor, a hospital, or a specialist, someone has to translate what happened during that visit into a series of standardized billing codes that get submitted to insurance companies. There are tens of thousands of people employed across the United States specifically to do this work. It requires knowledge, accuracy, and attention to detail. It also requires reading documentation, recognizing patterns, and applying structured rules, which is exactly what AI systems are extraordinarily good at doing. Several major healthcare systems have already begun deploying AI coding tools that can handle a significant portion of medical billing automatically, with human reviewers only spot-checking the output. The trajectory here is unmistakable. Financial analysts who work on routine report generation, data aggregation, and basic market summaries are also facing significant pressure. For decades, junior analysts at banks and investment firms were given enormous volumes of data and asked to compile it into readable reports. They would pull numbers from multiple sources, verify accuracy, build charts, write summaries, and package everything into professional documents for senior decision makers. AI systems can now do all of that automatically. Bloomberg and other financial data providers have integrated AI tools directly into their platforms that generate natural language summaries of financial data in seconds. The junior analyst role that used to be the entry point for a career in finance is shrinking because the most time-consuming parts of that job have been automated. This is a good moment to pause and look at the bigger picture, because understanding why this is happening so fast matters just as much as knowing what is happening. The reason artificial intelligence is moving through white-collar professions so quickly is not simply because the technology got better, although it did. It is because the economics are impossible to argue against from a business perspective. A company that pays a team of 20 people to process insurance claims is looking at salaries, benefits, office space, training costs, management overhead, and turnover. An AI system that does the same work costs a fraction of that, never calls in sick, works around the clock, and gets better over time. For any company operating in a competitive market, deploying that technology is not a choice. It is a competitive necessity. The companies that move first gain an enormous cost advantage over the ones that wait. And that pressure cascades through entire industries simultaneously. Content creation and marketing is a field that thought it was safe. Writers, copywriters, and content strategists spent years watching AI stumble through poorly structured sentences and obviously robotic prose. They watched with some amusement as early AI tools produced text that no one would ever publish. That era is over. The generation of AI writing tools available today produces content that is genuinely difficult to distinguish from human writing in many contexts. Companies that used to employ dozens of freelance writers to produce blog posts, product descriptions, social media content, and email marketing campaigns now use AI to generate first drafts and hire one or two human editors to polish the final output. The volume of content being produced has gone up dramatically. The number of people being paid to produce it has gone down. An agency that used to need 30 content writers to service its client base now needs 5, because each of those 5 can use AI to produce the volume of work that 30 people used to create. Translation and transcription services have been hit particularly hard and particularly fast. Professional translation was considered a skilled profession requiring years of education, cultural fluency, and specialized knowledge. Transcription required careful listening, speed, and accuracy. AI systems now perform both tasks at a quality level that is sufficient for the vast majority of commercial applications. Google, Microsoft, and DeepL have all deployed AI translation tools that achieve near-human accuracy across dozens of language pairs. Transcription services powered by AI can convert audio to text in real time with accuracy rates that exceed most human transcriptionists working at normal speed. The market for these services has not disappeared, but the number of humans being paid to provide them has collapsed. Graphic design and basic visual content creation is undergoing a similar transformation. This point always generates pushback, and it is worth addressing directly because the nuance matters. High-level creative direction, brand strategy, and original conceptual design are not at risk in the same way. What is at risk is the enormous volume of routine design work that makes up the bulk of the industry's actual job market. Social media graphics, product images, presentation templates, simple logo variations, advertising banners. These are the day-to-day outputs of most working designers, and AI tools can now produce acceptable versions of all of them in seconds. Canva's AI features, Adobe's Firefly, and a dozen other platforms have put tools in the hands of non-designers that allow them to produce professional-looking graphics without hiring anyone. Small businesses that used to hire a designer for basic marketing materials now do it themselves in 15 minutes. Software development is the one that surprises people most. The assumption has always been that the people building AI are the safest from its effects. That assumption is being tested. Junior developers and entry-level programmers are facing real pressure from AI coding assistants that can write functional code, debug errors, suggest optimizations, and build entire components of applications from a written description. GitHub Copilot, which is used by millions of developers worldwide, is not just auto-completing lines of code, it is generating blocks of functional code from natural language prompts. A senior developer equipped with these tools can produce what used to require a team of 3 or 4 junior developers. The entry-level coding jobs that have historically been the pipeline for growing technical careers are becoming harder to find, and the companies doing the hiring are becoming more selective because they need fewer people to get the same amount of work done. Education is another sector where the ground is shifting beneath people's feet. Tutoring services, test preparation companies, and supplemental education providers have rapidly deployed AI tools that can deliver personalized instruction to students at scale. An AI tutor never gets tired, never gets impatient, adapts its teaching style to the individual student, is available at any hour, and costs a tiny fraction of what a human tutor charges. Platforms like Khan Academy have integrated AI tutoring directly into their products. The demand for private tutors in certain subjects is declining in direct proportion to the quality of AI alternatives becoming available. The teachers and professors who work inside institutional education systems face a different but related pressure: the growing question of what a human educator provides that an AI cannot, and how institutions should allocate their resources in response. Accounting and bookkeeping at the routine level have been disrupted for years, and that disruption is deepening. Software platforms like QuickBooks, Xero, and others have incorporated AI features that automatically categorize transactions, reconcile accounts, flag discrepancies, and generate financial reports without human intervention. The bookkeepers and junior accountants, who used to be paid to do exactly those tasks, are finding that the market for their specific skills is shrinking. The higher-level functions of a CPA, tax strategy, complex financial planning, audit work, advisory services are not going away. But the volume of routine accounting work that made the profession accessible to people who are still building their skills is contracting significantly. Radiologists and diagnostic imaging specialists are facing a disruption that most people outside the medical field do not know about. AI systems trained on millions of medical images have achieved diagnostic accuracy on certain conditions that equals or exceeds the accuracy of experienced human specialists. A study published in Nature in 2020 found that an AI system outperformed radiologists in detecting breast cancer from mammograms in both sensitivity and specificity. Similar results have been published for detecting certain eye diseases, skin cancers, and pulmonary conditions. The question this raises for radiology as a career path is profound, and is being actively debated within the medical community. The consensus is not that radiologists will disappear entirely, but that far fewer of them will be needed to do the same volume of diagnostic work, because AI will handle the initial screening and flagging that currently requires significant human time. At this point, it is worth stopping to address the objection that always comes up in this conversation, because it is a reasonable one. Throughout history, technological disruption has always created as many jobs as it destroyed, and often more. The Industrial Revolution put hand weavers out of business, but it created factory jobs, transportation jobs, and eventually an entirely new economy built on manufactured goods. The internet eliminated entire categories of work: travel agents, video store clerks, telephone operators, but it created the digital economy, e-commerce, software development, and social media industries that employ tens of millions of people. So why should this time be any different? The honest answer is that it might not be fundamentally different in the long run. New categories of work will almost certainly emerge from the AI economy, just as they always have. But there are two critical differences about this particular transition that make it more challenging for the people living through it than previous technological shifts. The first is the speed. The transitions caused by the Industrial Revolution and the Internet played out over decades. Workers had time to retire, retrain, or adapt. Children were educated into the new economy before the old one disappeared entirely. The current AI transition is moving at a pace measured in months, not decades. The displacement is outpacing the adaptation. The second difference is the range. Previous technological waves primarily automated physical labor, or very narrowly defined cognitive tasks. This wave is automating the cognitive tasks that sit at the center of the modern professional economy: reading, writing, analyzing, communicating, and deciding. That covers a much broader range of people than any previous disruption. According to research from MIT economists Darren Acemoglu and Simon Johnson, who published work on this exact question, the optimistic view that technology always creates as many jobs as it destroys does not automatically hold in every historical case, and the current wave of AI adoption has characteristics that make the job creation side of the equation more uncertain than it has been in previous transitions. Their work, which was widely covered in economic publications, suggests that the distributional effects of AI, meaning who benefits and who is harmed, are highly dependent on policy choices and business decisions that have not yet been made. The jobs being created in the AI economy are real: prompt engineers, AI trainers, AI safety researchers, machine learning engineers, data scientists, AI product managers. These are genuinely growing fields, but they require specialized skills, typically advanced technical education, and they employ far fewer people per unit of economic value created than the jobs they are displacing. A single AI system managing customer service interactions for a company with 10,000 customers does the work that used to employ dozens of people. The team maintaining and improving that AI system might be 3 people. The math does not balance in terms of headcount, even if it balances in terms of economic value. The predictions being made for 2026 specifically center on 3 acceleration factors that are converging simultaneously. The first is the deployment of agentic AI systems that do not just respond to prompts but can take sequences of actions autonomously, navigate software interfaces, manage files, send communications, and complete multi-step tasks without human supervision. These systems are already in early commercial deployment, and their capabilities are expanding rapidly. An agentic AI can be assigned a complex research project in the morning and return a completed report by the afternoon, having autonomously searched databases, read documents, verified information, and composed the final analysis. The second acceleration factor is the rapid improvement in AI voice and video capabilities, which removes one of the last barriers to AI replacing human-facing roles. AI systems can now conduct natural conversations over the phone, handle objections, show empathy, and maintain context across long interactions in ways that are genuinely difficult to distinguish from human interaction. The third factor is cost reduction. The price of running advanced AI models has dropped by roughly 99% over the last 2 years. Tools that only large corporations could afford in 2023 are now accessible to small businesses and even individual operators. That democratization of access means the disruption is no longer limited to industries dominated by big companies. It is filtering down to small businesses, freelance markets, and gig economy platforms simultaneously. Understanding all of this is useful, but only if it leads somewhere actionable, because the people watching this video are not abstract data points in an economic study. They are real people who have careers, families, mortgages, and plans for the future. And the question that actually matters is what a person should do with this information. The first and most important thing to understand is that proximity to AI is not a risk, it is a protection. The workers who are most vulnerable to displacement are the ones whose entire job function can be replicated by an AI system. The workers who are least vulnerable are the ones who use AI as a tool to multiply their own output, creativity, and judgment. The person who knows how to direct AI tools, evaluate their output, catch their errors, and apply them strategically to real problems is not competing with AI. They are partnering with it, and that partnership makes them significantly more productive and valuable than a person who refuses to engage with the technology at all. Learning to work with AI tools is not about becoming a programmer or a data scientist. It is about becoming fluent in the practical use of tools that are increasingly embedded in every professional environment. A marketing professional who knows how to use AI to generate first drafts, test different messaging approaches, analyze audience data, and optimize content at scale can do the work of a much larger team A financial analyst who knows how to use AI to automate data aggregation and report generation can spend more time on the high-value strategic thinking that clients actually pay for. A teacher who integrates AI into their practice can personalize instruction for every student in ways that were previously impossible. In every field, the pattern is the same. The people who figure out how to use AI to enhance what they do become dramatically more effective, and the people who ignore it become dramatically less competitive. The second principle is adaptability. The professions that are most resilient in this transition are not necessarily the most technically sophisticated. They are the ones built on human capabilities that AI still cannot replicate reliably. Genuine creativity, complex interpersonal relationships, physical presence, contextual judgment in unpredictable situations, and ethical accountability. A therapist sitting with someone in crisis is not doing something that can be automated. A carpenter who can look at a 100-year-old building and figure out how to repair it in a way that maintains its structural integrity while meeting modern code requirements is exercising a form of judgment that no current AI system can match. A nurse building a relationship of trust with a frightened patient over multiple hospital visits is providing something that transcends information processing. These human-centered capabilities become more valuable, not less, as AI handles more of the information processing tasks that used to consume professional time. The third principle is about the difference between a job and a skill set. One of the most dangerous things a person can do in this environment is to define their professional identity in terms of the specific tasks they currently perform, rather than the underlying capabilities those tasks require. A paralegal who defines their professional identity as someone who does legal research is vulnerable. A paralegal who defines their professional identity as someone who understands legal frameworks, communicates complex information clearly, and helps attorneys serve clients effectively is in a fundamentally different position because those underlying capabilities remain valuable even as the specific tasks change. There is a broader societal dimension to this transition that deserves to be named directly, because pretending it does not exist would make this video incomplete. The scale of displacement being projected by credible economic institutions is large enough that individual adaptation, however important, is not sufficient on its own to address the impact. The World Economic Forum, the IMF, McKinsey Global Institute, and other major research organizations have all published work pointing toward the need for significant investment in retraining programs, changes to educational systems, updates to safety net structures, and policy frameworks that address the distributional effects of AI-driven automation. These are not political statements. They are analytical conclusions drawn from the projected scale of disruption. The societies and governments that prepare proactively for this transition will handle it more successfully than the ones that treat it as a distant problem. The healthcare sector provides a useful case study for thinking about how this transition can go both well and badly. AI diagnostic tools are becoming genuinely excellent at detecting certain diseases earlier and more accurately than human specialists working alone. That is unambiguously good. Earlier detection saves lives. But if the implementation of those tools simply reduces the number of radiologists employed without creating a framework for what those highly skilled professionals should be doing instead, a significant amount of human expertise and capacity gets wasted. The optimal outcome is not fewer radiologists replaced by machines. It is radiologists who, freed from the most routine and time-consuming aspects of image review by AI tools, can handle more complex cases, provide more direct patient interaction, engage in research, and focus on the diagnostic challenges that still require human judgment. Getting from here to there requires intentional design, from the hospitals deploying the technology, from the medical schools training the next generation of physicians, and from the policymakers shaping the regulatory environment. Manufacturing is worth examining because it illustrates the long arc of this disruption. The automation of manufacturing jobs began with basic industrial robots in the 1960s and 1970s, accelerated through the 1980s and 1990s, and is now entering a new phase with AI-powered robotics that can perform complex assembly tasks that previously required human dexterity and judgment. But the manufacturing sector also illustrated something important about resilience. The most successful manufacturing workers and managers are the ones who became operators of increasingly sophisticated automated systems rather than competing with those systems directly. The factory worker who understands how to program, monitor, and troubleshoot a robotic assembly cell is more valuable today than a worker who can only perform the manual tasks the robot replaced. The same principle is playing out across every sector now. The most honest thing that can be said about the predictions surrounding 2026 is that they reflect a genuine inflection point, not a distant warning, but an immediate reality. The disruption already in progress is measurable, documented, and accelerating. The specific timeline will vary by profession and by geography. Some jobs will be disrupted faster than the projections suggest. Others will be more resilient than expected, for reasons that only become clear in hindsight. But the overall direction is not in serious dispute among the economists, technologists, and policy researchers who study it most carefully. The people who will navigate this transition most successfully are not the ones who are immune to the technology or the ones who reject it. They are the ones who understand it clearly enough to act strategically, people who invest in the capabilities that AI amplifies rather than the tasks that AI replaces, who maintain the human relationships and contextual judgment that machines still struggle with, who stay curious and adaptable rather than defensively committed to doing things exactly the way they have always been done. The world is changing faster than at any previous point in living memory, and that is genuinely unsettling for a lot of people. That discomfort is legitimate and worth acknowledging, but discomfort and danger are not the same thing. The people who are in real danger are the ones who are not paying attention, who are not asking the right questions, and who are not making deliberate choices about how to position themselves in an economy that is reshaping itself around capabilities that did not exist 5 years ago. The people who are paying attention, who are learning, who are adapting, and who are leaning into the parts of their work that are most distinctly human, those people are not victims of this transition. They are positioned to benefit from it in ways that would not have been available to them before. That is not optimism for its own sake. It is what the data shows about how technological transitions have always worked, with the crucial qualifier that this one is moving faster and reaching wider than anything that came before. The urgency is real, the stakes are real, and the time to act is not when the disruption arrives at your front door. It is right now, while there is still room to move, adapt, and prepare with intention, rather than desperation. The jobs being eliminated first are the ones built on tasks that AI has already mastered. The careers that will thrive are the ones built on everything that makes human judgment, creativity, and connection irreplaceable, and the wisdom to use these extraordinary new tools to amplify all of it.